What's up, y'all? My name's Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction, and I made my last bet November the 12th of 2022. Tonight, I'm going to be answering questions that you have about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery, and hopefully we get a good amount of questions. So whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay, thanks for taking the time to be here, and hopefully you hear something that is at least decently helpful. So I made my last bet November the 12th, 2022, and since that point, it's become my mission to create content aimed at helping you to avoid going down the same path with your life that I went down with mine. I spent 6 years basically gambling every day for an average of like 10 hours a day, and it was a pretty crappy way to live. So I don't want to see anyone else having to go through that. What's up, y'all in the chat? Hello. How's it going? Let me know where you're from. Let me know how long it's been since your last bet, and hopefully we start to see some people coming in asking some questions. If you want to help this reach more people, all you got to do is leave a like on the video. YouTube sees the like, they're like, oh my God, you liked it. Maybe your friend will like it. Maybe this other guy will like it. And they keep sending it out to more people. Hey, Alex, how's it going? Happy to see you. Happy that you're hopefully still doing well. Nice to see you. So, yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions about gambling addiction. These always take a couple minutes to get going. Who are we kidding? We know how it works here. We know how these go. So, basically, there's 4 things that I did to stop gambling, and they're going to come up a bunch of times tonight. It was finding alternative things to do with my time that mattered to me, limiting my access to money that was tempting me to gamble by having someone control my bank account, going to support group meetings to hear stories of other people, but also stay accountable to other people who are also struggling with this addiction, and then self-excluding from the casinos to make it as difficult as possible for myself to gamble. Last bet was a few hours ago. Well, you're in the right spot, my friend. If you are looking to stop gambling, this is going to be a cool conversation. If you're not looking to stop, then hopefully like someone says something and it's still helpful for you. You want to stop, but it's difficult. Yeah, of course it's difficult. You're giving up something that you like to do. But my like big pet peeve is people are always like, I've tried everything to stop. No matter what I do, I keep going back. But then I ask them like, what have they done to actually stop? And the answer is like pretty much nothing. They just delete the apps and say like, all right, I'm not going to gamble anymore. But that doesn't really work. You're just kind of delaying it, right? We have to build ourselves up to become better people in the meantime. My opinion on prediction markets, they're just regular gambling and they're skirting around laws so more people can get addicted to gambling. I think we're on a really, really bad path, guys. Like, I don't want to be like a pessimist the entire time that we're talking tonight, but like, we're going to see a lot of gambling addiction. There's a reason that people talk on these chats. There's a reason that people ask questions, right? It's because we're struggling, and I think it's only unfortunately going to get bigger. But with that said, hopefully we can present some solutions tonight. So if you're here early and you want to help more people find this video, do me a favor and leave a like on the video. If we can get that up to a couple of likes, who knows who knows who this might reach. It's pretty much the free way that you can help this to reach more audience. But yeah, let me know if you guys got any questions. I'm sitting on a couch, so I'll try to sit still so that the camera doesn't rock. The cat's in my spot, so I'm hunched over, and that's my problem, I guess. I'm going to end up with back pain by the time I'm 30. Yeah, every time you go back when you say that you're going to stop, but if you're just saying, I'm going to stop, like, that's as good as saying that you're not going to stop because you don't have a plan in place. If you don't have a plan in place, then it doesn't really matter what you're feeling. You need to feel like you want to stop to be able to quit, but then you need a plan. So the 4 things, once again, that I did to get clean and stay clean from gambling were finding alternatives for my time that mattered to me, like making videos, limiting my access to money that was tempting me. I had a family member control my bank account for a while, self-excluding from the casinos to make it more difficult to access the bet, and going to support group meetings to talk to other people who were going through the same thing. What's up, Swiss? How we doing? Yeah, and every time you have a loss, you're like, oh, I'm never going to go back again, and then you end up going back. Well, why is it? Well, because we're addicted to it. Our brains tell us that it can be different next time, that it's not going to end the same way. You'll control yourself this time. It's going to have a better outcome this time. It's only through repetition over and over again that we realize that it's always going to end the same way eventually. That's why it's like, you can go back thinking like, man, I can't wait to get that big win. I'm one spin away from the big win. Like, you could say that kind of thing. But then you go back, you get that win, and you don't stop, and eventually you end up in the same position anyway. So my mantra to keep me away from gambling is all wins are future losses anyway. If you don't have any family members, that's a difficult position, but it's still not impossible. I mean, it's just find someone that's close to you to be an accountability partner in your finances. Basically, what you're trying to do is just not have free reign over your money to just piss it away. If you have someone that's either controlling the account or has access or visibility to the account, that changes everything. Because now they'll be like, hey, what's this transaction for the FanDuel? And you're like, oh, it's gambling. They'll be like, I thought you quit gambling, right? It opens up the conversation. It helps keep you accountable. So what's up, guys? We're going to get all kinds of comments tonight, some good, some bad, but at the end of the day, I'm just here to share my story. I'm here to answer questions people might have about recovery, and my hope is that you can avoid going down the same path with your life that I did with mine. If that sounds like something that would be good, not getting addicted to gambling or recovering if you are addicted, consider hitting the subscribe button and joining this community. I make content every single day here on the channel, and all I want to do is have it help people that are in the position that I used to be in. At what point does one more bet stop being hope and start being denial? Pretty much right away, I would think. But I said it to myself for years before I finally quit. So, day 30 of no gambling for you. Congratulations, my friend. Nikki, thanks for being here. I appreciate you too. All right, this is an excuse then, Raj Beer. You're making an excuse. You're saying if I tell my family, things will be worse. That's a lie you're telling yourself to justify continuing to gamble. I watched the Battle of the Small Players, Sam. I thought it was all right. I thought it was like, it gets into that like spirituality piece with like the ghost and stuff like that. So they kind of lost me a couple times, but the concept is like pretty strong. The movies, like you would think that they're like really sensationalizing the character that is the gambling addict, but I felt like that and Uncut Gems really captured the emotion. If not, like, it wasn't necessarily realistic in Ballad of a Small Player, but it captured the emotion of being a gambling addict. Thanks for the love, guys. I appreciate you. Never understood gambling? Good. Keep it going. Self-exclusion is massive upstate. I think it's really important that you put as many barriers in place between you and the bet, because if you ever read this book, it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you want to break a habit, you need to make it difficult and ugly to access. Whereas if you want to build a habit, you need to make it easy to access and easy to repeat. So if you're looking to stop gambling, make it as difficult as possible to gamble. Not impossible, because that's impossible, but as difficult as possible. If you had a relationship where they gambled away your assets, I'm very sorry to hear that. I really hope that things can get better and you're able to rebuild, my friend. It's a terrible addiction, and it ruins families, ruins lives. Got into sports cards collecting, find it easier to spend, or control spending. Good. Just keep that up. People can end up getting hooked to that. They can end up treating it the same way with like the risk reward as day trading. So just be careful and know yourself, but hope it's good. I do have a sponsor, and I have worked the 12 steps, yes. I made my last bet November the 12th, 2022, and for the first 2 years that I was in recovery, I went to my meeting every single week. Now my meetings basically become the work that I've done, or do. See, self-exclusion. Yeah, self-exclusion definitely helps, guys, for sure. And I'm reading comments. I'm trying to keep up with the pace, but if I miss your comment, feel free to just ask it again. I'm going to do my best here. I've seen the Goober stuff, but I haven't reacted to his content yet. I'm doing my best to do like once a month reacting to some streamers' content, just to like kind of show that like, hey guys, this is sensationalized stuff. Haven't watched Uncut Gems. Is it worth the watch? I really liked it. Yeah. Upstate, you really think that self-excluding for life means they can never gamble again? Come on, man. Come on. What would happen if you made just $100 back? I'm imagining what would happen if you go back and you win. It doesn't matter. Eventually, whether it's the next minute, the next hour, the next day, that money's going to get lost again. So you can go back, you could get a big win, but you're not going to actually stop. And when you don't stop, you're playing a zero-sum game rigged against you. And eventually, you're going to lose it back. I don't think long-term investing is a bad thing. The way that I was trading stocks was like day trading, short-dated options, trying to get rich quick. So I think that when it comes to stocks, to ask yourself about your timeline. If you are someone that is like going to buy and hold for 20 years, you're investing. But if you're someone that's like, damn, I need to double my money by next week, chances are you're gambling. Thanks, Suzette. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, Uncut Gems was so good that like Adam Sandler said, if I don't win an Oscar for this, I'm gonna make the worst movie of all time. And he ended up making Hubie Halloween because he didn't win. That was a hilariously bad movie, if anyone wants to look at that. Upstate, I can tell you exactly why self-exclusion hasn't solved the problem. It just feels like a waste of time, but I'm going to do it anyway. So self-exclusion means that if you go to a casino, you can get trespassed. It means that you can't sign up on state-regulated sports books. But at any point, you could download a VPN, gamble online. You could go to a different state. You can do literally dozens of different things in order to keep gambling, but that's just making it more difficult. It's not making it impossible. It's not problem solved. Let's see. You had a win, but you hate yourself and you're sad about it. Well, I mean, I have no idea what to say to that necessarily, but I know that if you feel sad when you gamble, it's not going to change, regardless of winning and losing. It's going to keep resulting in the same feeling eventually. All right, I see we got someone spamming. Let's just stop that. Thank you. Let's see. You've asked them to ban me, but they won't. It depends what site that is. If it's a crypto site, I mean, that's the kind of their MO. But if it's a state-regulated site, that would be illegal. So check that out. You can gamble on anything now. Yep. And I think that the target market of who gambling is going to be pitched to is going to change greatly. Because I think that right now, gambling is kind of being pitched to the sports fans. I mean, casino players, obviously, always. But sports fans are like the new hot market. Now with prediction markets, it's going to shift to being anyone who regularly watches entertainment content, anyone who's got free time on their hands, disposable income, because now it's not, let's bet on the Sixers game. Now it's, let's bet on The Bachelor. Let's bet on who's going to, let's bet on the weather tomorrow, right? It's going to just be constant gambling on every niche interest, and that's the danger of prediction markets. Appreciate you, Water Ice. I go live usually once a week. Thanks for being here. And this idea of you're one win away, right? Yeah, you could get a big jackpot if you go back and gamble, but the problem is that you're not going to stop. And because you don't stop, you're going to eventually lose it all back. So wins don't actually matter. You're not missing out on anything. Because if you go back to gambling, you're just going to lose it. And that's the reality of it. A lot of scratch and casino content on shorts. Yeah, the internet's filled with gambling content. And get this, TikTok flagged my account today for putting out a video about gambling addiction. They flagged me as the sale of regulated goods. I've seen some regulated goods being sold, and it's not by me, I can tell you that. But yeah, endless gambling content online. Watching the stream from a casino even though you're self-excluded. See, that's the reality of it. That's the reality of a self-exclusion. It's only supposed to make things more difficult. I wish it was like a one-stop shop and it fixed every problem in the world, but it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. What's up, y'all? How we doing? Gabe, thanks for being here. Appreciate you, Gabriel. And to everyone that's in the chat, thanks for being here so far. I'm going to be live for the full hour, so if you have questions about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery, feel free to ask them. Chances are someone else very well might have the same questions. The ways that you can support the channel, no donations, please. The number one thing that you can do is obviously subscribe. The second thing is hit that like button, because the more people that come across this content, the more it gets pushed. It's just this snowballing effect where we keep helping other people find more content. Let's see. Let's see. The Brazilian government created general self-exclusion. This prevents users from accessing or creating accounts on these platforms. That's great. I think self-exclusion is a great tool, don't get me wrong. It's just not a one-stop shop solution. The four things that I did to quit gambling and stay clean for the last 3 years were finding alternatives for my time that meant something to me, limiting access to money that was tempting me to gamble by having someone control my bank account, self-excluding, yes, to make it more difficult to access gambling, and going to support group meetings. How to stop believing that the next bet is a win. It doesn't matter if it's a win. So you don't have to stop believing it. It's that if you keep going, you're going to lose. You can win, but you will eventually lose. You're playing a game that's rigged against you. You keep doing it over and over just to feel the thrill, but truthfully, it's never as thrilling as your first win. Yeah, we're always chasing something, right? And people say that people who develop a gambling addiction, well, we're not addicted to winning and losing. We're just addicted to keeping the rush going, trying to get that thrill again. And yeah, it creates a lot of problems in life. 1 year gambling free, but always have the temptation. Well, congratulations on 1 year gambling free, but you're tempted on short-term options. You know, it's the same thing, right? You might not necessarily have to lose on the first option, but you're not going to stop. You're playing a game where you're playing with fire. Eventually, that loss will come, and the same consequences that you had with regular gambling are going to happen there. So it is what it is. Trying really hard to stop gambling. Yolanda, what have you tried to stop gambling? I see this comment a lot, and let's get to the root of it. What have you tried doing to stop gambling? Let me know in the chat, because a lot of times I hear that, and all people have tried doing is ignoring it, which doesn't work. You saw a documentary about Crash, an aviator. I wonder if it was, I made a little piece on that, but yeah, I've seen some good videos on it. Yeah, aviator's crazy. It's crazy bad. Imagine explaining aviator to like someone wearing a suit in Atlantic City in the 70s, like playing a crank arm slot machine. Let's see. What keeps me from not gambling? I've reached the point where the gambling industry frustrates me so much that I would rather explode than give them another dollar. The thing that keeps me away from options and things like that is just knowing that I can't stop once I start. And for me, if I can't stop, I know that eventually it's going to cause problems in my life. So it's just not worth pursuing it, you know? Your friend just died of an overdose from gambling and cocaine addiction. I'm very sorry to hear that, Marco. Very sad. What advice do I have for someone that's gambling isn't a financial problem, but rather just a time and lack of development in their life issue? You don't have to have financial problems to have a gambling addiction. I think that's a really common misconception, actually. If you're experiencing negatives in your life, like you're distracted, you can't sleep, you're missing time from work or school, you're irritable, you're angry, it's just taking up way too much time in your life, it can be a full-blown gambling addiction, and you just haven't felt the financial consequences yet. So you think that you're fine, but in reality, you're developing and sustaining a problem. Yep, from the East Coast, guys. Philadelphia. You emptied your bank account gambling, stopped you in your tracks. I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. The good news is that we can rebuild. And when we get into recovery and we stop bleeding money, we can rebuild everything. Life will get better again. Wish you could ban gambling nationwide? Well, the exact opposite's happening, unfortunately. Here we are. And any kind of losses that you've accumulated, you have to look at them as learning lessons, right? I lost X amount of money to learn that gambling causes this result in my life. And the result is that it's not good. The only way you can stop gambling is if you give up control of the funds. Yeah, I think that's a really important part. If not control, then visibility. Like being able to access all your money and not be accountable to anyone else is just a recipe for disaster, because you'll be like, oh, you know, who's gonna know if I place a $20 bet on this, or who's gonna know if I take out $100? And eventually you spiral and you end up in the same position again, because it's only a matter of time. The Young Dad, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. December 19th, last bet. Let's keep it going. New year, new you. We got this. A lot of people are going to try to quit gambling coming up into the new year. So let me know if you're in the chat and that's your New Year's resolution. Hopefully we can help it, happen. But yeah, I mean, after you've experienced enough of the negatives, you realize the truth about this, and you just have enough. Like you're like, I finally want to get better. I want to make life better. Alex says it's not about the money. It really isn't. The money's just one of the consequences that come in. Did gambling cause me to lose a partner or significant other? I lost a relationship during my gambling, but I wouldn't fully blame the gambling. But with that being said, I really wasn't a good person at the time. I was way more focused on gambling. And so, it's not like I lost the relationship because it was like, oh, you lost all my money, or oh, you gambled too much. It was just like I wasn't really there, and that definitely contributed to it coming to an end. But that's okay. Sometimes it's okay. Gambling made your patience with people a lot shorter. Me too. Very irritable. My entire mood was determined by like millionaires kicking around a ball or shooting a ball, and I would never meet them in my life. No more gambling 2026. Let's go. Is there a third-party company that can manage money? I don't know on that question. I really don't. I'm sorry. You can probably talk to a bank about specific transaction blocks or like specific barriers to put in place, but I really don't know. Let's see. If you've lost trust and, those around you are kind of in a position where they don't quite know if they can trust you, if they believe in you anymore, just know that will come back with time. But you have to put yourself in a position where you're doing the next right thing over and over again to reestablish that trust. I think as gamblers, right, we want everything really quick. We want everything to happen immediately, but expecting others to forgive us when we've been screwing them over, Yeah, it's a tough situation, right? We got to be patient, which is not our strong suit. I know that. It's super draining to gamble. So if you're looking to quit gambling in 2026, you're in the right spot. I put out content every single day aimed at helping you to do just that, hearing other stories of people in recovery and trying to answer the questions that you might have about gambling addiction. So subscribe if you're not. You're probably subscribed if you're watching the stream. Who am I kidding? Now, dude tried to get you to give away your soul. Not good. Not good. You've been playing for 4 or 5 months and you're only down a couple. And you are down $1,000. Wish you could stop before it gets worse. You can stop before it gets worse. There's 4 things that I focused on to quit gambling. Is finding alternative things to do with my time, limiting access to money that would tempt me to gamble, going to support group meetings, and self-excluding from the casinos. Those 4 things were huge in my recovery process. I have a bunch of videos about it, including one that's linked in the description of this video. 5 years ago, you were at the point that you gambled 3 inheritances. I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. I really hope that I really hope that things have gotten better since. You're at 9 months clean till last week. You started gambling, and what can you do now directly? So check out that video in the description that describes how to quit. But something was wrong about your process or lacking in your process, right? Let's face it. If you had a relapse, it's because something about your recovery plan wasn't there. Let's try to figure it out, right? And I'm not picking on you. I had many relapses, but that's exactly what I think when I look back on mine. Were you bored? Did you have access to too much money? Were you tired? Were you frustrated? Were you angry? Were you hungry? Like, why did you relapse? Let's figure it out from there, and then we can begin to rebuild. So let me know in the chat. Oh, thank you so much for the gift, my friend. No need to send anything, guys. Just being here, engaging with the content when you see it is the #1 way that you can support. But I appreciate you. I hope that you continue to have a gamble-free 2026 as well, my friend. What are my long-term career aspirations? To just be an absolute menace. I just want to cause absolute havoc in terms of gambling addiction awareness and advocacy about what the gambling industry does. So I have something coming pretty soon that I'm excited about. I'll be sharing that soon. Let's see. Do I recommend removing access to overdraft on your checking account and removing cash advance access on your credit card? Neither of those sound like a bad idea. I obviously am not here to give financial advice, but it sounds like you know exactly what you need to do for yourself to live a better life, right? Gambling isn't that bad. Well, I'm glad that you feel that way, my friend. Just save the page for if you ever get to the point where you realize what we all realize. Let's see. Do I do step work? I focused a lot more heavily on step work towards the beginning of my recovery journey, but yeah, it was definitely something I was doing. How intense is the urge now in vulnerable moments compared to your first 3 months no gambling? I don't really have urges at this point, but in the first 3 months I certainly did. And I remember the very first temptation I had was when the Eagles played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but it was the Super Bowl before the last one that we won. So I don't even remember what year that was. It must have been 2023, February, when we lost to the Chiefs. That night I had like a Super Bowl party at my house, and I felt like everyone was gambling. I was really tempted to do it. But then I realized like it doesn't really matter. Because if I start gambling, I'm not going to stop. And for me, I was at a point where like I was a couple months clean. I was feeling like I was starting to get it back together. It just really wasn't worth it. But the urges were there. Glad I was able to stay away from it. Self-excluded yourself. Congratulations, Poncho. Appreciate hearing that. Let's see. I could gamble to get out of debt. That's the great belief that we all have, right? One spin is going to fix everything, but all wins are future losses. We got to look at it like that. What's up, Shreya? What do I do for a living? You're looking at it, Z Funny. You are looking at it. I do this. Last time you joined a GA meeting, it was useless. It's really like one of those things where it's based on who's in there, right? You get out of it what the group gives you. And not every meeting is standardized. It's a different experience. So don't give up on everything just because one group didn't work out. You're going to get a lot of benefit out of hearing other people's stories, and maybe that group just wasn't the one for you. It is a very unique addiction because it's the only addiction where you can convince yourself that doing more of the addiction will fix the addiction, which is, of course, a false belief, but it's one that you can very well say. You could say, big win will solve all my problems. It won't, but you can convince yourself of that, where someone with an alcohol problem really couldn't convince themselves of like, hey, if I drink this 5th of vodka, that's going to solve all my problems in life forever. Like, it just doesn't work that way, right? It's just a different kind of addiction. How much have I lost in total? I get this question all the time, so I love giving the same answer all the time. So I'm not going to tell you the number that I lost. The reason that I'm not going to tell you is because I know you're asking that question because you want me to say either that I lost more than you or less than you. If I lost more than you, then you'll tell yourself you're not addicted to gambling because you're not as bad as me. If I lost less than you, you'll say I have nothing to tell you because I didn't lose enough. A gambling addiction is not measured in the amount of money that you've lost, but rather the amount of damage that it caused in your life. And I spent 6 years addicted to gambling, and I was gambling every single day, put myself into debt 6 different times to the point that I had to work a second job to pay it off. And if that doesn't explain it, you probably don't need to be here yet anyway. Gambling is going to ruin a ton of lives in the coming years. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, just the trajectory of it, right? Like, we can keep saying that. We can keep, like, forecasting damage. We can keep saying, like, oh, this is awful. Like, these things are all true, but it's just kind of a statistics thing, right? It's not even like I'm fear-mongering. More people gambling, more people have gambling problem. More people have gambling problem, resources not there to help people with gambling problem. More people struggle. That's kind of the reality of it, right? And I think that the first step is labeling the product as addictive, because the gambling industry will tell you, oh, not too many people struggle with this. It's really not a problem. We need to treat gambling the same way we treat tobacco. People can do it if they want to do it. However, we can't just flat out lie and say this isn't a problem that we're causing. So the casinos are genuinely just a horrible, evil business. And I think a lot of them are going to get hit with lawsuits in the coming years. I hope to be a part of them. I would love that. I'm 26 years old now. I forget sometimes. When I'm at that age where I have to like double check myself when I say the answer, because I want to say like I'm 22. But I'm 26. I'm pretty old now. What are the steps to dealing with debt? I have a couple videos on managing debt. Off the top of my head, I'd rather just send you to those videos. But it's really important that the like first step always is to say, okay, this is how much I owe. This is how much I make. I need to figure out how long I need to work to pay this debt. I need a schedule. Basically, getting clarity over the situation is huge. Yeah, we definitely need to ban gambling ads. And if not ban gambling ads, we need a giant disclaimer on gambling ads that this is a dangerous and addictive product. Because what does it say now? It says, hey, loser, call us if you have a problem. No one's calling that number until they've experienced years of problems, right? So I think it's set up in a way that they're basically able to say, hey, you loser gamblers are the problem and not us. We're just offering a product, right? Just like the cigarette companies were just offering a product, but they were marketing directly to kids to get them addicted. So it's kind of like that. So little plugs. I make content here every single day. And the number one way that you can support the growth of this message is just to be a subscriber to the channel. I'm always saying it because it genuinely matters. And I'm saying it like once every 10, 15 minutes because it really, really helps if you guys are subscribed to the channel. I'll shut up. I'll continue answering questions. But if you have questions about gambling addiction, drop them in the chat. They run gambling ads back-to-back with alcohol ads to make sure your cognitive function is compromised while using betting apps. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they run them back-to-back because these companies spend a shit ton of money on advertising, honestly. But, they go hand in hand, unfortunately. And a lot of people that struggle with alcoholism end up struggling with gambling addiction and vice versa. Gambling websites should be forced to be in a word template, kind of how smoking packets are in England. Yeah, I mean, there could definitely be restrictions on their website or their advertising. I don't know what that would look like. And it sounds very like, even as I say it, it sounds very much like, oh, like you hate capitalism. Oh, you're like, just let these businesses be businesses. Like, I get the counter arguments to it. All I want is just this big sticker that says this shit sucks. This shit might hurt you. Like, if you look at a finance commercial, you'll see this big disclaimer that you might lose your investment. On gambling commercials, that's like, join our gambling site. We love you. You're going to win big. Love it. It's the best. And then it just says, like, call us if you have a problem. Like, I just think it's backwards. I'm not saying restrict capitalism, destroy these companies, and burn it to the ground. Wouldn't be against it. However, like, just say it. Say what it is. Just call this thing, like, someone once said to me, you have to call a shit sandwich a shit sandwich. This is a shit sandwich. We need people calling this out, and it needs to be labeled properly. That's how I feel about it. 1 in 3 in Australia are doing gambling, and 3 out of 10 have gambling addiction. Australia is the gambling addiction capital of the world, and I lived in Sydney for a couple months. I know it all too well. Love the content. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Thanks for being here. What is my personal belief on the morality of casino owners, that they're immoral? I think that they like to pretend, casino owners, operators, employees, they like to pretend like they don't know how much damage they're doing, but I think deep down they do. Trump once bankrupted a casino. I'm pretty sure he did it twice because I think he did it in Atlantic City and then he owned Atlantis in the Bahamas. I'm pretty sure he bankrupted that. Yeah, I've heard about the market in Brazil, yes. So if you guys are thinking about questions that you're wanting to ask about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery, feel free to drop it in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer it. Wow, there's a lot of people here. Appreciate you guys being here. I'm just answering questions about gambling addiction, so if you got them, go ahead and ask them, because there's a decent chance that someone else is probably thinking the same thing. Sports doesn't have to be fixed. They could be. I don't really know. I don't really care. The reality is every single bet contains a house edge, and over time, the house will win more than you do. So eventually, you're going to lose all your money if you keep gambling. Thanks, Mr. Who Said. I just want to help people avoid going down the same path that I did. Really, I think we're most qualified to help the person that we used to be, and that for me is just a couple of years back. So hopefully people can relate to the story. Hopefully they get some value out of the content here. How often do I go live? James, I'm trying to go live once a week. I've been moderately consistent on that. Not the best, but better than I used to be. There was a time where I was live on TikTok every night, but I just can't do it. So I'm trying for once a week, usually Wednesday nights. This week I went live earlier because I got New Year's Eve plans. Do I still watch sports at all? Yeah, I can. It's just not that interesting usually. I like the fourth quarter of things. I'll go to an in-person sport. I think that's fun because there's more to do in the stadium. There's more to see. But basically, I thought I was this big sports fan. And maybe at one point in my life I was. But that shifted and I became just a really big gambling fan. If you had a big gambling win, that's great. Really happy for you. Unfortunately, all wins are future losses. And if you do reach the point that you're willing to accept that, or you just have that reality hit you in the face like a brick, feel free to come back. I could argue with you guys all day, but really no need. Yeah, different sites not needing ID. I mean, it's all just so that they can pitch it to kids, because the younger you start gambling, statistically, the more likely it is you develop a gambling addiction. And so all these sites are promoting themselves to the youngest audience that they possibly can. Yep, gambling isn't measured, or gambling addiction rather, is not measured in the amount of money that you're spending or losing. It's measured in the amount of harms that it's causing in your life. It does not have to be financial by any means. It usually is, but it doesn't have to be. So if you're finding yourself preoccupied with gambling, that's one of the 20 signs that groups like Gamblers Anonymous uses to determine if someone has a gambling addiction. So look those signs up and see if it's something that you can relate to. In fact, actually, you don't have to look it up. Just check the description of this video, and you will see in my description I've included the 20 questions. I forgot to put it in there. Roblox is getting kids hooked on gambling. If not just on gambling, the idea of risk reward is present in a lot of the games. Loot boxes, things like that. It kind of just normalizes this idea of I pay X and I hope to get more back in return. So it's a really slippery slope, is the truth. Let's see. Interesting topic to touch on is the gamification of youth games. Yes, I worked on a project for the state of North Carolina on that just yesterday, actually. But for my channel, it's probably something that we can do. We've made videos on video games in the past. They've just kind of underperformed generally, but I think they're important to do still. I think that the general audience that watches content online is mainly sports bettor and casino gambler, but I think that maybe a documentary series on how gambling is impacting kids could be pretty useful. Oh, thank you so much for the gift, my friend. Of course I read this, but no need to send anything. I appreciate you so much, and I hope you have a happy new year as well, without gambling, of course. That goes without saying. But really, just being here, guys, just asking questions, engaging with the content, it's all I could really ask for. I started making videos in my mom's basement, and now I have my own basement. So, we've moved up a little bit since the start, but the entire idea in the beginning was to try to do something that made me feel a sense of purpose, because that's what was missing in my own recovery. Is finding alternative things to do with my time that meant something to me, that weren't gambling. Then it was limiting access to money that was tempting me by having someone control my bank account, self-excluding from the casinos to make it as difficult as possible to gamble, and going to support group meetings for gambling. But I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much for the kind words, for the nice comments, and just for, showing up. Thank you. You might try gambling. Great. Another future subscriber. Welcome to the channel, my friend. We all had that thought at one point. You know, I get trolled a lot and I get people that say all kinds of stuff, but the reality is that people are gambling. People think I was just a bad gambler until they go out and they do it themselves and they realize the truth. CS:GO loot boxes, that's my professional team that I work with on YouTube. They were hooked to CS:GO. And there's actually a group that I work with called Gamban that is now sponsoring a USGO team or CS:GO team. USGO. Uh, I think I hit the wrong button on that guy, but it's okay. Am I Irish or something? I don't know, Angel. I don't know. Video games can 100% be addictive. A lot of video games are designed with gambling mechanics in them. Patricia, Happy New Year's. Appreciate you being here. Literally had nothing better to do. Well, that was a big problem for me. You have to find something to do with your time that makes you feel like you're contributing. It doesn't even have to be anything that's that important. Just like feeling a sense of progress. Maybe like volunteer work even. Like just doing something for someone else. Because when I was gambling, all I cared about was getting rich, right? I was like, oh, I'm going to hit big. I'm going to be rich. It's going to be great. Then I stopped and I was like, I have nothing to do with my time. Everything's meaningless. Then I started to make these videos and I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe this could help someone. Then it did. And I was like, wow, that actually felt good. It's the first time in a long time that I did something for someone else that wasn't just about me or about money. And that's really important. I think that we kind of measure our happiness a lot of times by like our financial situation, our life situation. But the reality is that we can measure our happiness based on relationships and doing things to not even just build direct relationships, but do things to help someone else. It goes a really long way in maintaining our own happiness. Let's see. So thanks for being here, Jay. I appreciate you. You can lose your monthly salary in 30 minutes. Yeah, you can lose your house in 30 minutes. You could lose your entire life savings in 30 minutes. It might not even take 30 minutes. That's just the reality of gambling nowadays. It's a very, very dangerous thing. Appreciate the channel and have a lot of good guests. Thanks, James. I appreciate you. I work pretty hard to maintain content on this channel to keep putting stuff out, and hearing that you like the guests, that's great. You know, people message me all the time saying they want to share their story, and then we set up to record and they don't show up. So that happens a lot. But with that being said, the people that do show up, it's always nice to hear their stories. If you notice, if you watch like a bunch of episodes, you'll see that a lot of people share similarities in their stories, which is disheartening in one sense, but also like nice in another sense that we know like we're not alone. So there's push and pull. But thanks for being here. Thanks for saying the nice thing about the content. Yeah, Z Funny, good comment here. This idea of like boredom after we quit, like we're not gonna feel that same level of excitement. Good, we're not supposed to. That's why we got addicted to it. We got this artificial high from gambling, and that artificial high led to this concept of like, I have to keep feeling this way to keep feeling okay. And it's not reality. We're putting ourselves into a situation where we're getting our artificial dopamine from something outside of our control. When we quit, it might feel boring, but that's just our brain readjusting to life. We're getting back to a normal dopamine baseline. Let's see. Start your gambling with CS:GO cases. Yeah, that happens to a lot of people. And gambling companies love that you play those kinds of games. And you know, some of them are literally just linked to casinos. What do I do for a living? You're looking at it. I'm Rob, and I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. I made my last bet November the 12th, 2022. Now I create videos about my story here on YouTube, also on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And I work with a couple of companies to spread the message that gambling addiction is real, but resources are also out there. So I'm able to come online and talk about my story and hopefully help other people avoid going down that same path. And hopefully you're along for the journey. Hopefully you want to be here. You didn't just find this because your friend pranked you or something. So if you like what you're hearing, if you like being here, you know, consider subscribing and joining this community. Would love to have you. Should organized gambling be outlawed? I think it's kind of too late. Like I've had this debate with a couple of people that I've worked with in the past. They think it's still possible. I just think it's like the cat's kind of out of the bag on this one. We're putting ourselves, well, we're in a situation where like rolling back gambling just doesn't really seem feasible. So I don't know, but it just doesn't, it's like, do I think it should be outlawed? I don't really even know. I think the way that it's structured right now, it's like they are a very predatory industry that preys on people that get addicted. They create gambling addicts and they squeeze them for all the money that they're worth. Like, I don't think that the existence of a casino is the problem. I think it's the business model and the incentive to keep making more money for shareholders. How did I feel when I told others for the first time? pretty nervous. I thought it was going to be a really big thing, and then I told them, and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we kind of had a feeling." Like, I think we play it up in our heads to make it more difficult so that we don't do it, so that we can justify continuing to gamble. Eliminate the excuse. Just go and tell them, rip the Band-Aid off, and if they don't react well, they don't react well. It kind of is what it is. XDude, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting for that amount of time. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this full time if you guys weren't here. If no one watched what I was talking about, I'd just be a random nutball yelling into the void. And I feel that way sometimes. That happens. Why am I so passionate about pursuing this mission to help other people with my content? Because it's something that I can do. I mean, that doesn't sound very passionate, I guess. But when I started making this content, it was to help my own recovery. Then I realized, like, this industry sucks. This industry is taking advantage of people. And now I have not like a massive media voice. Like, I'm not like huge, but it's a big enough voice that I can cause some havoc. I can do some things that maybe the gambling industry doesn't want me to do. And so now it's like, why not? Why do I want to see other people struggling? I can make this my full-time work without having to take a single dollar from anyone else. This is great. So I just like it. I don't know. Hey from Ireland, 4 months clean. Congratulations, my friend. That's awesome. And hello from Philadelphia. Happy to have everyone in the chats. Happy to have you guys just joining tonight for this stream. Appreciate you. Your parents were good about it, paid off all your debt, and gave them account and full visibility. They were amazing. I mean, getting bailed out could be a bad thing. However, I'm glad that you're in a better position, and having that visibility is a fantastic step. So hopefully, things go great. But they say that bailouts are bad because we don't really learn our lesson. When I quit gambling, I worked for 6 months for like 80 hours a week to pay off my debt, and it sucked. And I don't want to go back to feeling that way. So just remember the negative feelings, and I think it kind of does the same thing. But that's why they always say, like, not to get bailed out, because if you don't really feel the pain of having to work to recover things, we don't necessarily regain that appreciation for the value of money. So just something to think about, but I'm happy to hear that anyone's doing better. So if you're in the chat, you're doing better. That's awesome. Let me know where you guys are from, how long it's been since your last bet. Just feel free to drop it down below in the chat. And I'm going to grab a sip of water here while we wait for more questions to roll in. But yeah, feel free to ask anything that you want. Okay. Or don't. Yeah, and I saw the like number go up one more. Thank you guys for hitting that like button. It really does get this pushed out to more people. And I hate having to ask for likes and subscribes, right? But I'm a YouTuber. That's what we have to do to survive. It's been a day, but you've been clean for 2 weeks before. Greatly reduce your time. Fantastic, my friend. So figure out what it was that sent you back to gambling and address it for the next time. John, thanks for being here. There's a lot more to life than gambling, and starting a business is a great thing to do. That's what I did. How would you replace 14 years of emotional pain? So I think what the question is asking is, like, how do you replace your coping mechanism? It's not gonna be good. Like, you're not gonna feel good in the beginning. I don't know, like, a positive, happy, rainbow shitting thing to say. But the reality is, if you have 14 years of damage as a result of gambling, as a result of other things in life, gambling more is just gonna be running away from the problem. It's just gonna create more problems in the meantime. So just recognize that gambling is not a real solution to anything. It's a false solution we tell ourselves to justify continuing our actions. And if you're looking to quit gambling, check out the description of this video. I put together a 1 hour long, I know it's a little long, video about my gambling addiction story and how I got myself clean, and now over 3 years clean. Debt triggers you to gamble and served as a reminder. Yeah, I mean, I don't share that same opinion, but that's okay. As long as you're doing good, that's awesome, my friend. Let's see. Got triggered and was around the gambling going into the new year, not thinking. Now you're going into the new year not thinking about gambling. Yeah, I mean, creating separation from you and gambling is important, but it's kind of impossible now with the fact that gambling is online. So rather than trying to run away from it, you need to just prepare yourself for when you experience certain stimuli, right? I know that I'm going to see a gambling ad when I go and scroll TikTok. So I need to know that when I see a gambling ad, I'm not going to gamble. Instead, if I feel a temptation to gamble, I'm going to do X or Y. And just preparing ahead of time is really, really important, I think. The live that you're talking about where my friend comes on and shares about his story, that's usually on TikTok. That's Rob from Right Choice. It does get easier every single day that you stay away from it, absolutely. Online gambling is worse than the in-person gambling, in your opinion? I think I share that opinion solely because of kind of the volume in which you can play. The speed of play is higher. You can usually bet more online. There's less friction. It happens faster. It's not good. Thoughts on streamers gambling, fair game or problematic? Very problematic. In fact, like, there's two ways of looking at the question, right? Should you watch streamers as someone in recovery instead of gambling? No, because you're mind betting. It's creating this situation in your mind where you're not actually allowing your brain to heal. And then streamers in general, they're basically lying to their audience. They're manufacturing content to make you think that you have a better chance of winning than you actually do, so that you sign up and lose money with their code, and then they get paid a portion of your losses. Tomorrow's podcast episode that we're going to release actually interviews a guy who's a former gambling streamer about how corrupt the industry actually is. So I think that's actually going to be fun. Let's see. Burn, you had a relapse a couple months ago, but you got your mind right. I'm really happy to hear that, my friend. I'm always happy to hear that my content's been a part of, reframing mindsets or moving forward in a positive way, because that's exactly why I make the content, right? So it did its job. I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that's helping. What is my dream today? To wreak absolute havoc on the gambling industry, which I will do. Let's see. Online gambling is definitely worse because you don't have to feel the cash. Yeah, there's that point too. It's like in casinos, why do you use casino chips? It's so you don't realize how much you're actually spending and losing. Like, you don't feel that same emotional pull. And then when it digitizes and it's just numbers on a screen, it feels like even less like real money. And so gamification and the separation from you and your money like really messes up your value perception of what you're actually gambling. Any tricks to go longer and have urges weaken? I mean, it's like you shouldn't be focused on going any specific amount of time. Just not gambling today is going to be the goal. But check out the video that's in the description on how you can stay clean. Coming up on your first month clean in 3 years. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Keep it rolling. Keep it going. Should you take a loan to pay off your credit card? So look, not financial advice, but that sounds like a really bad idea. But it's not financial advice. I would recommend you meet with a financial counselor if you're feeling stressed. There's a group called GamFin, gamfin.org in the United States. They might offer free counseling near you. Relapse is not a recovering requirement, 100%. Some people think relapses have to be a part of the journey. No, they don't, but they can be. I mean, it's really, everyone has a unique situation. Everyone has a unique journey. How to stop that itch to go back. You feel sick when you don't feel sick. Like, go ahead, feel sick, throw up if you have to. But if you go back, you're only going to make the situation worse. You kind of need to embrace the reality that life's not supposed to be this 10 out of 10 thrill that you get from gambling all the time. It's a fake high. That's why we get addicted to it. Started the same on November the 12th, but from this year, your life has changed a lot. Focus on your goals. Stomach ache is gone. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here, Luis. I'm really happy to hear that things are going well. So, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for asking the questions that you did tonight. I think I'm going to be calling it a night there. We got a good amount of questions that came in. Hopefully you were able to ask your question or you heard it asked by someone else. So I'm going to try to go live every week. That's going to be the goal. Usually Wednesday nights. Tonight was Tuesday. It is what it is. I'm not perfect. But thank you for being here. So if you are interested in seeing more of this content, make sure that you're hitting the subscribe button and check out the description of this video for a bunch of resources, whether it's videos, websites that you can access to find resources. There's good stuff in the description. That's why I put it there. So thank you again for being here. Thanks for asking the questions. I hope that everyone has a happy new year. And thank you so much for, just engaging with the content. It's why I do it. I hope that everyone's able to stay gambling free going into 2026. And we're going to have more videos coming out soon. So have a good night, everyone. Thanks again. Peace out. And let's keep getting better together one day at a time.